In the last section, we saw Jupiter's speech, and now what we're going to get is Juno's reply. So we start here with seek. Okay, this is in line 807. So, and that means so or thus. Okay, so thus the Dea Saturnia, the Saturnian goddess. Okay, thus the Saturnian goddess, and in fact Saturnius, Saturnian needs to be added to the translation just before goddess. So the Saturnian goddess, with her face having been lowered, so that's an ablative absolute, with her face, vultu, having been lowered, submitto, right? This verb is submittere, to lower. And then you have to imagine a word like dixit, right? So spoke the Saturnian goddess with her face having been lowered. Now, Juno here is referred to as the Saturnian goddess because she is the daughter of the Titan Saturn. So the Saturnian goddess is Juno. Okay. And then at the beginning of the speech, she says, quidem, indeed, because, quia, ista tua voluntas, that will of yours, that plan or desire of yours. Ista means that, tua means yours, and voluntas is a will. Or it's almost like a decision here, or a plan or a desire. Because that will of yours was known, nota erat. Well, so you have to imagine a verb like erat, was known, nota, to me, mihi. And then she addresses him with the vocative magne Jupiter, great Jupiter. I reluctantly invita, right? Invitus is an adjective meaning reluctant, and here it's feminine referring to Juno. I reluctantly reliqui, abandoned, Turnum, Turnus, and his terras, his lands. Okay, so she's basically saying, because I knew that you wanted Turnus to die and Aeneas to win, I therefore abandoned Turnus, even though I didn't want to, reluctantly. Okay, and then we go over the page to neck here, which means nor. Now this bit is slightly complicated because you've got all these subjunctives, videres, traherem, and so on. These are subjunctive because we're in a kind of conditional clause, but you have to imagine the first bit of the conditional clause. So the conditional clause is something like, if I didn't know that you wanted Turnus dead, then, and now we go into the Latin. If I hadn't known, if I didn't know that you wanted Turnus dead, then nec tu videres, you would not be seeing me, alone, solam, now, nunc, aeria sede, on a airy, lofty, high up seat, sede, okay, or throne, right? You would not now be seeing me alone on a lofty throne. Enduring, pati, this is an accusative infinitive. You would not see me, accusative, suffer, pati, that's the present infinitive of patior, suffer, digna, indigna. That means literally proper and improper things. But really what that phrase means in Latin is something like all sorts of things, all kinds of things. So you wouldn't now be seeing me suffering all sorts of things, but instead, right, that's said, but instead, what would she be doing? Right? If she didn't know that Jupiter wanted Turnus dead, she would instead be cincta flammis, encircled or surrounded with flames. I would be standing, starem, by the battle line itself. So sub, which means under, can also mean by in this sense. It was right there by ipsa acie, the battle line itself. And que, what else would she be doing? Well, traherem, I would be dragging Teucros, the Teucrians, or the Trojans, in inimica proilia, into hostile battles, or into deadly battles. And then we get a bit of an admission from Juno here. She says, I did urge or encourage, swasi, or advise, I did advise Juturna to do what? To succurrere, to bring help to give help to, plus dative, her misero fratri, her wretched or unhappy or miserable or unlucky brother. And then in brackets she says fateor, which means it's a deponent verb meaning I confess, I admit it, something like that. And she says, and also et pro vita, for the sake of his life, i.e. Turnus's life, I probavi, I approved or authorized her, we have to say, have Juturnam again, I authorized her to audere, to dare, or dare to do, maiora, greater things. What does that mean? I approved that she dare, or I approved her, I authorized her to dare greater things. Virgil doesn't make it entirely clear. Maybe it means something like, I authorized her to do things which were greater than what she would normally do just on her own, without the permission. Something like that. So I approved that she dare greater things. But then Juno tells us what she didn't do, known. And I think this is probably following on from swasi. Right? So I did urge her to dare... I did urge her to help her brother and so on. But I did not urge her to ut contenderet, to aim weapons, tela, and then tamen is but or however, that's the contrast. But I didn't urge her to aim spears, and I didn't urge her to aim a bow, arcum. Okay, so now the verb contendere usually means to march or to hurry, but when it is used with an object that is a weapon, it means to aim at something, right? Now, this is slightly strange, this sentence, because Juturna didn't actually aim a spear or an arrow at Aeneas. So, why is Juno saying, I never told her to throw spears at Aeneas when she didn't? I think the answer is that Juturna, even though she didn't personally do this, what Juturna did do was basically she got one of the Italians. Earlier on in book 12, she got one of the Italians to shoot Aeneas. So Juturna, she didn't shoot Aeneas, but she convinced someone else to shoot him. So Juno is basically saying, well, yes, I did encourage Juturna to act in order to help Turnus, but I never told her to do anything bad to Aeneas. Okay, so this is Juno's response to Jupiter's accusation that Aeneas, as a god or future god, shouldn't be wounded by a mortal. Right, that was in the bit that we read last time. Right, Jupiter said, it's not right for Aeneas, as a future god, to be wounded by some mortal. And Juno is saying, yeah, that wasn't my fault, right? I wasn't the one who, I didn't encourage Juturna to make that happen. I didn't encourage Juturna to have Achilles shot. I only encouraged her to help her brother, right? That's the point. And then Juno says, adjuro. Now, adjurare is to swear. And it takes accusative, and the accusative is the thing that you swear by. And in this case, she swears by the caput implacabile. Okay, now a caput is a head of a human or an animal, but it can also be the source of a river. Okay, and implacabile is a neuter adjective agreeing with caput, and it means implacable or unappeasable, right? Something that you can't reason with, something that you cannot ask for mercy from, right? Something quite scary. So I swear by the implacable or unappeasable source, caput, of the Stygii fontis, of the Stygian spring. Okay, and remember that, and this is the Styx, the river Styx, Styx, which is a river in the underworld, in Greek and Roman mythology. So she says, I swear by the unappeasable source of the Stygian spring, which is quae, and we can imagine quae est, or in fact, no, before quae, we'd go to una. So the Styx is the una superstitio, the one. Superstitio means something like religious sanction, sort of object of religious dread, something like that. The one religious sanction which, quae, is allotted, is assigned, reddita, and you have to imagine est or something. Reddo normally means to give back, but here it means to allot or assign or grant, something like that, which is granted to the superis divis, the gods above. Divis are the gods, and superis means above. Okay, so the Styx is the one religious sanction granted to the gods above. And what Juno means by that is, this is a kind of rule of Greek myth, that the gods, the Olympian gods, are not able to swear falsely when they swear by the river Styx. So that's the point there. Okay. And she then says, et nunc, and now. And now. She says, I cedo equidem, I truly yield. So equidem means indeed or truly, and cedo means I yield, I submit, I give up. And que, I abandon, relinquo, I leave behind the combats, fights, the pugnas, exosa, which means in hatred. You know, it's exosos is an adjective that means hating someone. So she says, she's basically saying, even though I hate the situation, I am abandoning the battlefields, the battles. Okay, and then she says, obtestor. This is a deponent verb. I entreat you, te. It's like a very formal way of saying I ask you. And I ask you for something, which is another accusative. I ask you for illud, that thing, which, quod, is tenetur, is is bound, or is stopped, is prevented, literally is held, by no law, nulla lege, ablative, by no law of fate, so fati is genitive, by no law of fate, okay, for the sake of Latium, pro Latio, for the sake of Latium, and for the sake of, pro, the majesty, the greatness of your people, of your kinsmen, something like that. Okay, and then next time we'll find out what her request actually is.